The Radical Republican Plan. How was the Radical Republican Plan different from Lincoln's plan? Congressional reaction to Lincoln's Reconstruction plans deepened the division among Republicans in Congress. While the moderate Republicans in Congress supported Lincoln's plan for Reconstruction, the radical Republicans in Congress opposed it. They felt it was too easy for the formal rebels and did not do enough to help the people freed from slavery. Radical Republicans were also concerned that Lincoln's plan would leave too much political power in the hands of the former Confederate leadership. Okay, so here you guys, we are talking about the government and how we're moving forward after the Civil War. Okay, remember we talked about radicals and moderates um, earlier in the year. So the moderates are kind of like, okay, we'll go with the flow, and the radicals are like, oh no, we're gonna fight till we get it. Okay, so there were Republicans. We still have Republicans and Democrats today. So we're talking about the Republicans and the radicals, the extremists. Okay, so they didn't like Lincoln's plan. Radical Republicans proposed their own plan outlined in the Wade-Davis bill in 1864. This bill required the states to accept the end of slavery and to grant all African American men the right to vote. It called for more than half of a state's voters to sign a loyalty oath before that state could be readmitted. This oath was stricter than Lincoln's loyalty oath. A person had to swear not only that he or she will be loyal to the United States, but also that he or she had never supported a rebellion. Requiring this oath would have disenfranchised tens of thousands of Southerners for life. Okay, so the radical Republicans had their own plan on how to kind of reunite everyone and get everyone back together, and they had the Wade-Davis bill of 1864. Okay, so it said every state, if you had to accept the end of slavery, and African American men, notice not women yet, had the right to vote. Okay, so this was different than Lincoln's oath. Okay, so Lincoln's oath only had to swear that he or she would be loyal to the United States. Lincoln vetoed the Wade-Davis bill, saying it was too harsh. In return, the radical Republicans tried to replace Lincoln in the 1864 election. Prior to the Republican National Convention, the radical Republicans formed the Radical Democracy Party, held a separate convention, and elected John C. Fremont as their candidate. Okay, so the radical Republicans, they didn't like that he vetoed their bill, that Lincoln vetoed their bill, and they said, well, we're not going to vote for him for president again. We'll get someone else. So they went out and they got a candidate, John C. Fremont. The move to replace Lincoln did not succeed. Lincoln's leadership in the war had greatly increased his popularity, and Fremont's campaign never attracted much support. Lincoln was reelected in 1864 by a wide margin. Still, the radical Republicans continued to resist Lincoln's treatment of the former Confederate states as being too lenient. Okay, so Lincoln got reelected, and the radical Republicans still weren't happy. Okay, so basically they thought that Lincoln was not being hard enough on the former Confederate states, on the states that rebelled. He thought the radical Republicans thought that Lincoln should be meaner to them. Another tragedy. On the evening of April 14th, 1865, 1 week after the end of the Civil War, President Lincoln and the First Lady attended a play at Ford's Theater in the Capitol. He was assassinated or murdered by John Wilkes Booth, an actor and passionate Confederate supporter. Booth ran off and was killed in a barn in Virginia 12 days later. Lincoln died the night after the shooting. After Lincoln's death, Vice President Andrew Johnson became the 17th President of the United States. He inherited an unstable country and the staggering task of trying to bring it together. Okay, so Lincoln was reelected, but like I just said, there were people who weren't happy with him. And on April 14th, 1865, Lincoln was killed. He was shot by a man named John Wilkes Booth. He was a Confederate supporter, okay, so he did not like Lincoln, and he did not like the way that things had happened. So after Lincoln died, which is the same thing that would happen today if something happened to our president, the vice president steps in. So Andrew Johnson became the 17th president.